Hey guys, happy Friday. It is March 31st. Wow, it's almost April Fool's Day. I just got to think of a new one for the fiance tomorrow, maybe. I don't know if that's a good idea with date night tonight. Anyway, hope everyone's having a great one today. Thought I would talk a lot about how to stay healthy while you're doing tech sales. And this is something that, I've been doing for years in terms of like always being conscious of it. And it's been refined over the last few years. I remember when I was doing tech sales and recruiting, I'd be the only guy at the office, kind of like doing a few things during break time and being very, trying to optimize my routine. So I wanted to share some advice, and it's things that I've done, I've seen results, as well as things that I've learned from other people and been beginning to implement in my own daily routine. So some fun stuff that you can do, and this is stuff that you can do either at home or you can do this at the office if you're at a tech sales firm where you have a whole sales floor and everybody's in standing desks. Then you can do this as well. So thought this would be very, very good for you guys. And you might notice a little bit of music in the background there. I'll talk about that in a second on why. So, how to stay healthy during tech sales. Here's some things that you can do. And I'm a big believer in health. Why? In terms of like life, money's good. It's not everything. I think relationships and health are more important than money. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it definitely helps all the things that actually bring you happiness. So it's good to know about, and you want to be taking care of yourself. And if you have more energy throughout the day and you're healthier, you will make more sales. Believe it or not, everything has to do with everything else. If you have more energy throughout the day, if you have if you have good health, you will make more sales. You'll have more energy to devote to invest in, as well as just more vitality. So it's something to really consider, because I meet some tech salespeople that I'm like kind of worried about their lifestyle. But everybody to each his own. Here's some tips that I think might help you guys. Okay, so first thing, if you haven't done already intermittent fasting, I would strongly recommend it. And I've done videos on this in the past where I've done this myself. I did a keto for a month as well as intermittent fasting, where both me and my fiance both lost 10 pounds doing this. And a lot of research on, inflammation and what that does to you with all the foods that we eat. So eating clean food, which is as close to nature intended, organic, and then doing intermittent fasting. And usually the typical one that's around is, stop eating by 8 o'clock and then wait till the next day at noon to restart eating, right? Breakfast means breaking your fast, funny enough. So breaking your fast, and the best way to do it is with some bone broth. So that's the way I do it. Or you can do it with some, anything that has protein, just protein, like a boiled egg, for example, or a little bit of chicken or turkey. Something good. Or fats. I would recommend just protein. There's a lot of research that we're also protein deficient in a lot of ways. So I would stick to protein to break your fast. And then while you're also doing a fasting, cleanse while fasting. There are so many cleanses out there there's 7 essential cleanses that I recommend. I just bought a new book actually on it. I'm going to be going through that. But cleansing, easy one to do is from Dr. Axe. It's a great one. You have 20 ounces of water. You put a little bit and two tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and a dash of cayenne pepper, and have that while you're fasting. So like, for example, like after my workout, I'm dehydrated. I do that as a way before I hop in the shower, and that gives me like 20 ounces of new water to kind of flush out. Really good to do. So doing intermittent fasting in 16-hour windows. Do maybe once a week a 20-hour window. Doing cleansing while you're doing it. Just those 2 by itself will have amazing results. Another big YouTuber that's out there is Ben Huberman from Huberman Labs. He's a Stanford professor, has a lot of stuff. I was reading the book Breath recently. He's featured in it. And he's got some great stuff too. So I would recommend checking out his channel. And he just gives it to you straight, which I really enjoy. Some of the things that he talks about is light in your eyes as soon as you wake up. And this gets you back on your circadian rhythm. Okay, so if you wake up and it's already daylight, try to get outside for like 2 minutes and get that natural sunlight into your eyes. It's gonna basically release certain hormones into your system. Or if hey, like for me, we wake up around 6 o'clock and there's no sun yet. We turn on a light, but as soon as it does become sunlight, go outside for a little bit. Okay, so that's another thing that you can do. Light into your eyes. You also want to limit your caffeine. Caffeine is a drug, people. In our society, and I'm just drinking coffee right now, and I pretty much every video I think I've had a cup of coffee with me, where caffeine's become a big staple in our society. This is actually a new coffee shop just opened up down the street from me, and I was on the way home and trying to try out their new coffee. But you want to limit your caffeine intake, okay? So try to start limiting the amount. You also want to have caffeine 2 hours after you wake up, not first thing. If you want to go a step beyond, you want to ideally have some protein before you have coffee. Now, this isn't the same thing with matcha, for example. But if you had an ideal scenario, this is what I would do, and this is what I do, is that with coffee has an acidic acid that actually is found to, it's the same thing they use to tan leather, okay? And if you drink coffee on an empty stomach, it's not really good for you. And especially if you're intermittent fasting, it could be very detrimental. So in an ideal scenario, if you're doing intermittent fasting, that wait 2 hours between having any caffeine. And if you do have caffeine, make sure it's green tea, okay? Not coffee. If you have coffee, I would make sure to have a little bit of protein 5 minutes before having the coffee. This really helps to counteract that. And you'll start noticing, you're gonna have better hair, skin. It really affects a lot of the protein in your body. So that's another thing to kind of keep aware of. Workout before you start work, by the way. So let's get back into tech sales. Work out before you start work. This will boost your energy, especially if you do it an hour before whatever work starts. It's very, very important. When I used to do more of a firm sales when I was in an agency, very important where like everybody who worked out had way much more energy kind of going on. So make sure you do that. And it also gets you into that like kind of that state of go, go, go. It's really good for you. It helps flush out certain toxins. It gives you more energy throughout the day as well. Okay, so work out before you work. Something that I do is, if I had to like kind of do it, is when I wake up, me and my fiance, we get up and we do meditation together. And then I read for 30 minutes. And then afterward, I do kind of plan the day, plan my sales stuff, plan everything. What am I going to put my energy and focus onto? And then I do my workout. Now, before that, I do Wim Hof breathing. So I do like two rounds of Wim Hof breathing. So learn about how to do nose breathing. So when you're at work, you can do nose breathing all throughout the day. Make sure you're counting your inhales and exhales. I'm giving you a lot, so you might have to watch this a few times. But inhale, exhale, inhale 5 seconds, exhale 5 seconds, and try to look at your timer to focus on that. This actually puts you in a rhythmic state, and it's been found to be similar to meditative state. So if you're doing that while nose breathing throughout the day, it's going to be very, very beneficial. After I do kind of like Wim Hof breathing, I do my workout. On average 30 minutes. It depends on what I'm training for. I got a half marathon in 2 weeks, so I've been doing a little bit more running and focused on that. And then I got a half triathlon, half Ironman coming up in the summer, so it's kind of benchmarks. But you want to make sure that afterward that I like to do grounding. Now, I was just reading a book on hormone production, and the guy said that actually a lot of studies have shown that if you ground yourself outside for about 30 to 40 minutes, and grounding is basically there's an electromagnetic system that runs through the earth, and because we wear a lot of like rubber shoes, or we usually sleep on beds that are like higher off we're not on the ground, which is why if you go camping and you sleep on the ground, you feel a little bit better, to make sure it's the right posture, but you feel more energized. And the reason is because the electromagnetic frequencies from the earth kind of recharge in a lot of ways. That's why I used to work out on the sand when I lived in San Diego. Now I'm like, I gotta figure out a different way to do this. So grounding outside, and I've been learning how to do Qigong. Qigong, guys, a lot of energy. It takes 10 minutes. So I do a workout for 30 minutes, and then 10 minutes I go outside, get that natural sunlight, put my feet in the grass or the soil, get some natural grounding, and then I do some Qigong practicing. If you want some resources, you can reach out to me. But those are some things that I do. Okay, here's the interesting thing, and this is gonna be a long one, but I'm jam-packing things that took me years to learn and to kind of like I do every single day, and it gives me a really fun day. It does seem like a lot, so only focus on one or two of these things at a time. Get really good at it, then move on to the other things. Same with anything else, with tech sales. If you're doing tech sales, know exactly where you are, what you need to work on. Focus on one or two of those, like certain closing techniques or lead generation techniques. Only focus on those areas first before you go to everything else. Anyway, this was something that I learned recently that is really throwing me for a loop. It's a big down the rabbit hole moment. So in the background, while you're working, I would recommend for an hour listening to music that's either on 423 hertz or 528 hertz. Typical modern music is at the frequency of 440 hertz. Okay? Now, I was listening to a podcast. This Dr. Teresa Dale, very well known in the naturopathic area. They were doing research. Cancer cells were beginning to balance themselves out at 423 hertz. You guys have heard me, so there's been all this studies. You guys have heard me talk about Baroque classical music. When you focus and learn new things, it actually equalizes the left and right brain hemispheres. I did not know this, but classical music back in the day, hundreds of years ago, they used a tuning fork that was at 423 hertz and tuned the instruments to that vibration. Okay, modern stuff is all at 440 hertz, and so there's a lot of stuff beneficial. 528 hertz, they've done studies on that. 528 hertz, where there were patients, in a Chinese study, about 9 different patients. They had huge oxytocin boost, cortisol levels, stress levels went down. They were able to focus more, and they were able to get healthier at that frequency. At 440 hertz, which is the modern, what we all listen to, no effect. So the two ones you want to look at, 423 hertz, 528 hertz. There's tons of videos. The music I'm listening to right now is at 528 hertz. So if you've noticed any like slight differences, maybe, I don't know. But it's worth checking out. I mean, I don't think it's going to like, cure you from something like right away. But I do think that's like, can it hurt you? No. Can it help you? Maybe. So it's like maybe an hour a day, listen to that. There's something called the solfeggio frequencies. There's 9 solfeggio frequencies. If you really want to go down the rabbit hole, check those out. There's some interesting data on those things, on just the way, it's basically like sound healing. So this is something you could do while you're at your desk. And I would recommend doing it when you're having a little bit of downtime, when you're like, hey, I gotta plan my work, I gotta plan which calls I'm gonna make, my schedule, I gotta do maybe some data entry for the CRM. That's when you do it, not when you're on your call. Now let's go into your calls, okay? You should, according to Tony Robbins' book on Life Force, you should be getting about 10,000 steps a day. This is harder than it seems, I feel. And I do running. It's not easy to do 10,000 steps a day, but I feel like you got to move the body, as much as possible. So if you have a standing desk, try to use that. Instead of getting coffee, make sure you raise your desk so you can like be standing and you have that posture going on. A lot of us are on our phones or computers and our necks are becoming like this and our posture is suffering as a result. So you want to be clear, good speaking. As I say this, I should be standing. I'm sitting on a stool. All right, now I'm standing. There you go. And there's a big difference when you're talking to somebody who's a prospect, a client, lead generation, and you're standing when you're doing this. The other thing is when I talk to certain clients, it depends on the person. If it's somebody who I'm doing like a follow-up or I know really well or I have a relationship, I go outside. I take the dog for a walk. They don't mind. It's still a silent area. I wouldn't do this like in like Tokyo or a major city. But if it's a silent area, I go for a walk and I'm talking to them. I'm still conducting business. If it's somebody who might be new, it depends on the situation, but I'm still pacing back and forth. I'm walking around the room, making use of the room. And I've been in sales companies where people do this. They get wireless headphones and they just walk around. That also is walking. So you want to move your body. Rule of thumb is when you are talking to prospects and clients, you are standing. Good, better, best. You're standing. Better is if you're walking around, okay? So things to consider. If you're on a video call, obviously you can't do it, but you can still be standing. So something to consider while you're doing that. Walking around, getting a standing desk. The other thing is the amount of water that you're having per day, okay? You want to make sure that you're having half your body weight in ounces per day. So I'm about 180, 190, so I want to make sure to have 90. I just rounded up too. I'm trying to have 100 ounces of water per day. And I could go even more on this, on like the importance of water and kinds of water. Make sure it's clean, clear water, okay? A lot of countries don't have clean water. And unfortunately, there's a lot of tests where there's different drugs in the water, and a lot of people have they flush their drugs down the toilet or birth control pills, and they've done testing in almost every major city from tap water. It's full of stuff, guys. So make sure you get a good water filter. If you want some recommendations, feel free to reach out to me. Anyway, I think that's good for enough for right now. And then usually in the afternoon, just for mental health, do a 20-minute break. I like to do a meditation for 20 minutes. I do 2 meditations a day, okay? Not every single day, but the ideal scenario is you do 2 a day, where I do a morning meditation with my fiance. I do an afternoon meditation on my own. And maybe for a pick-me-up, I don't have coffee. I try to have some matcha or green tea. That's really good too. So I'm really into health, and because I think good health, it's more important. Relationships and health are more important than money. Money is good, but also if you have good health, you'll make more money. So something to consider. If you guys are looking for some free resume templates, I've posted them before. A lot of people have been giving me great feedback and they've loved them. I'll include it in the link. Feel free to, it's kind of a shared folder, so you need to request access, but I'll incorporate that. If you're looking, guys, I've done thousands of interviews. I've hired a lot of different people in all different areas, both in the recruiting field as well as I've been, as a sales engineer and a sales director. I've hired salespeople, and so I know kind of what they're looking for. If you guys want a mock interview, or if you want some career consulting, feel free to reach out. I'm creating a new website for these services, and I'm happy to share that soon. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Big proponent on health. If you guys got any questions, or if you have your own ideas or some other nuggets of gold information, like things I haven't even thought about, feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear different people's experiences, what they've done or what they've learned. So I'll include my contact information in the description. Feel free to reach out, and hope you guys have a great weekend, okay? Cheers.